Welcome to this section on password OSINT. Password OSINT is one of my absolute favorite things to do. I've given talks at conferences in the past on hunting down breach credentials and using credential stuffing and doing password spraying, but there's so much information that we can get from just looking up passwords from an OSINT perspective. Now, when we're talking about password OSINT, we're talking about going and looking for breach credentials or credentials that have shown up due to breaches or data breaches. So you could think of like the LinkedIn breach or the Adobe breach. All these breaches, if there are credentials that are dumped out, a lot of times they'll find their way to the internet, they'll find their way to databases, and then we can use those databases to search through them and try to find information about either the target we're after, whether it's an individual or organization, and then we go and see what information we can identify. It's more than passwords, and I'll show you that here in a second. Now, there are some great websites and tools that we can utilize for this. For now, I'm going to kind of just show you the web format. Again, we're not going to use any tools until later on in the course, but for now, I'll kind of show you how we do the web searching and what we can do there. Before we get into that, I kind of want to show you just a brief example of what information we can find. So this is a little tool that I wrote, and it basically goes through and just looks through a database that is local. Now, we're going to show databases that are out on the web and are easier, faster to search through. But this is great just for something if you want a quick search on a database, you want to look up breach credentials. Now, I went ahead and just searched for breach credentials for Tesla. We'll cover this later in the course on how to use this tool. But here, I can identify some information about Tesla. Now, we talked about email OSINT and identifying email types, right? So we can see here that for Tesla, we're seeing a lot of first name dot last name. So it's possible first name, last name is the usage or format over at Tesla. Although we do see some shark, which looks like could be just like a S-hark, or maybe that's actually shark. We can see different things here where there may be some different formats with Tesla. So what we notice too is sometimes as companies grow, sometimes the companies start off with one format and then migrate to other formats as they get bigger. The other things that we can identify, though, are who's been involved in a breach. Here on the left side is the username or the email, and then on the right side is the password. And I keep like hovering over this one here because this is a repeat offender. If I'm looking for information on a specific company or a person and I see that their passwords change only ever so slightly, or they have the same password over and over and over in a breach, then guess what? I could have a pretty good assumption that that password might work somewhere else, or some variation of this password might work somewhere else. So it's always good to check these out and see if you can identify patterns, whether it be username pattern or any sort of password pattern, anything like that. Even as I scroll down, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here. Yeah, it's a terrible password, but it's always something to look into and see if there's any sort of repeat offenders. Now, we're going to cover this more in depth in the next video as we start talking about hunting down breach credentials. I just kind of want to show you an overview of what we're actually looking at, where these come from, why we're looking at that. And then in the next video, we're going to cover this even more in depth. So I'll catch you over in the next video.